Welcome everyone to Secrets of the Snake, Gung Hei Fa Choi. It is the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, and my family had lots and lots of food, and we eat gao. I don't know if you know, it's basically just boiled sugar, and it's very, very sticky. And they virtually ate it with me because I don't boil sugar in my own home. It actually freaks me out, but it turns into kind of a cheesecake looking thing, but it's almost mochi like in consistency, and it symbolizes togetherness, among other things. So it's my delight, my honor to be with you on this day to celebrate the year of the wood snake, and we'll talk more about what that means in a moment. But just to level set, like, I'm Stephanie, you're in the right room. I'm so appreciative that you're joining me today. In other weird and wonderful news, I'm going to try to teach with a slide deck because why do things normal? And Stephanie just yells at you for an hour. No, I'm going to try to do this on my iPad. So bear with me. Okay. Can you see? Thumbs up or reacts? Can you see the thing that I'm intending to show you? Amazing! Secrets of the Snake. I am Pony Ponytail, also known as Stephanie Kegu Kong. Please call me Stephanie. Pronouns they, she. I go comfortably by both sets of pronouns. And I think you might have found me because of Instagram. Wow, the internet. What brings us here today is staying connected during this time of manufactured turmoil. There have been so many executive orders from the new administration, lots of which are illegal, and from what I hear from people who know a lot more about the legal system than I do, unenforceable. And yet I find myself, I'll speak for myself, thrust into a good measure of chaos. And these are 5 practices I'm sharing with you today that support me to feel connected and grounded in all the best ways, and ready to show up in alignment with my intentions. So that's my intention, is to share these practices to equip you with much of the same. And I'd like you to take a moment here to set your intention. What do you hope to leave with? And if you like, you can put that in the chat.
Hey,
No,
Stephanie, can I interrupt you for a sec?
yeah, please.
There is somebody on the screen that's like, now that I'm speaking, I guess I'm in the screen and you're.
Yeah. Oh, let me spotlight myself. Thank you, Joy. I appreciate you. Okay, spotlight for everyone. Is this better?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Awesome. I appreciate that. Look at me, not usually teaching with a slide deck. Okay, hold on. Oop, wrong thing. There we go. All right. So your intention, what do you hope to leave with? And that might be something very specific, like a specific technique for bilateral brain activation. It might be something more along the lines of energy. Like, I want to feel support from my ancestors. I want to feel a connection to a purpose that's greater than myself, that will remain even when it's time for my body to transition. Yeah, something, because it could be something small, just 60 minutes of not the other shit I was scrolling on social media. Just take a moment, if you like, take a few breaths. And in a moment here, I'll ask us to take 5 breaths together. I'll count to 5, but please feel free to breathe in your own time. In just a moment, let your intention, whether that's a feeling or a statement, something more or even less specific, feel free. Okay, let's take a few breaths, feeling into that intention and feeling your seat supported on whatever you're supported on, your feet, such as they are, your legs supported on their supports, your back. You might notice how even the walls around you, or the space around you, is also supportive. And because holding is a type of support, we acknowledge that even the things that don't seem supportive immediately, instantly as we think of them, represent forms of support. The way my coffee cup is a form of support. The way my iPad stand is a form of support. And all around, functionally infinite, are these forms of support, wrapping around the earth, connecting us to one another. All right. That is our welcome. Thank you. The year of the wood snake. Let's break it down, just the snake bit. In the 12-year cycle of Chinese astrology, there's this story that I won't get into right now of the animals. Okay, and one of the stories is the snake at kind of the middle of this parade on their way to meet the Buddha. And the snake, as the middle of these kinds of cycles go, symbolizes the transformation, like what happens at the midpoint of the cycle, the journey. You might be shedding an old skin, literally or figuratively. You could be, this could be a year where you're like, I'm going to redo my entire wardrobe or house or whatever. It could also be a time when you release a role that no longer fits, and the transformation required of you that in that case. Renewal, rebirth, and reemergence. I didn't put it on the slide, but that can mean tenderness, the tenderness of new growth. And especially this kind of horizontal growth. What do I mean by that? There's the growth that seems like it's going up, like the part of a tree that you can see. And there's a part of growth that seems like it's going down, like the part of the tree that you cannot see. But throughout that up and down growth, there is horizontal growth across, between, and even beyond. This is the growth that's me reaching out to you through the internet. This is you reaching out to your neighbors. This is us creating networks of solidarity, much in the way that branches go out and gather resources, light, rain, information. So now we're getting into the energy of wood. Wood is the growing element. It is mobile, not as mobile as water. And just a couple of elemental connections here to consider. Of the 5 elements alive in Chinese metaphysics, water is the element that helps wood grow. And metal is the element that keeps wood in check. Think of an axe or a saw. And we do not want untamed growth that exhausts our resources. We want growth that is curated is the word that's coming to mind, although I'm mixing metaphors a bit here. Contained, maybe, tended to. I like that one a lot better. Growth that is tended, right? Using this resource of water mindfully. So that's our year of the wood snake, and that is the energetic foundation on which I offer these 5 practices. By the way, hello, I'm Stephanie. I'm a public speaking coach. I am a body worker, 1,000 some odd hours of manual therapy education, training, and experience. I'm a theater actor, if you didn't already know that. I have some, I'll tell you about this later, maybe, later. I'm a Shakespearean actor, and my specialty is in playing roles for men, so like Hamlet and Richard III, things like that. It's a fun fact about me. I'm the founder of Voices of Fire, a signature talk incubator. It's basically group coaching in which you come, you do your talk, and I coach you all the way through it. It's 29 days and it starts in April. Email me about that if you want to know more. And my mission here on the planet, at least as far as I know it in my current embodiment, is to help you find and use your voice. I go back and forth, TBH, about the word find, because I don't think you have to find it. You know exactly where it is. It's about finding ways to overcome and decondition, right? There's that word decolonize, right? The ways that we've been taught to experience our voices, the way that we've been conditioned to judge and restrict our voices. And the unlearning of that is a process. I am still deep in my own process of that. What to expect today? Introduction and intentions, check. Overview of the 5 practices. We'll get to that in the very next slide. A deep dive into each practice, and then Q&A and closing reflections. If there's anything I can clarify for you or deepen for you or give you examples of, we'll cover it at that time. All right, the 5 practices. Bilateral brain activation. What the heck is that? I didn't put this on the introductory slide, but I am also a hypnotist. I was trained by Melissa Tiers at the Center for Integrative Hypnosis at Center for Integrative Change. And this is something from her, one of the very first things she teaches. And so I give it to you. Soap and Bones is a water ritual that we'll do a little bit of together. The 4 pillars of voice and the audio selfie. Those two kind of go together. They're different though. I'll get to that when we're there. And lastly, Get Coach. And I have a little surprise for you at the end there. That's all I have. Let's get started. If there are no questions, my work will be to keep us to the timeline as best as I possibly can. And by keeping it to the timeline, we'll have most time for practices. Okay, so here I go. I'm gonna unspotlight myself. Remove spotlight so that I can see you. Yes, amazing. Okay, cool. We've got a couple other folks in from the waiting room. Wonderful. Alrighty. If you have me in speaker view, you will still be able to see me big on your screen if that is your wish. And particularly for this one, you'll want to see as much of the demo as possible. Okay, this is a technique to balance left and right brain. All you need is something to hold in your hands. This is a hair clip. I also have, other example is my AirPods case. Other example is, you know, like you got one of these guys, you got a little amethyst point that's just zhuzhing up your desk area. Just beware of the pointy bit here. Anything, it could be a lip balm. It could be just giving you a moment to find stuff here. It could be white flower oil. If you know what this is, you too have a Chinese auntie, or you are one. Grab whatever you like. Just make sure it's approximately hand size. Okay, I'm going to use my clip for now. Wonderful. I'll sit back so that you can see more of my body. And just with this small object, hold in one hand. Yep. And pass to your opposite hand. Great. And back. Yeah. Pass and pass back. And pass and pass back. Lovely. If you like, you can keep going slow just like this. You could speed it up a little bit if you prefer. That feels like the rhythm you enjoy. Just as you start to find your own rhythm here, notice. Now I'm on your Zoom screen. I am doing this thing. And if I didn't tell you I was doing this thing, you might be like, nope, Stephanie's not doing a damn thing. Yeah, it is a secret thing. Okay. See if this changes. Does it feel better if you make it bigger? Is it more satisfying if you make it bigger? You might not always want to make it bigger, but just to experiment for now. Does that feel different? Nice. Grounding. Yep, you can also play with making it smaller. And for me, as small as just passing it back and forth doesn't feel as nice. I like to make it at least medium size. Yep, and if you like to play with scale, maybe you can go really big, really big. My body doesn't super love it when it's really big. I like kind of a medium, stay within the medium range. But now that you've experimented, keep doing the one that you like for now, and that might change. Okay. Yeah. Bring that motion to a close. In 3, 2, 1. Put your object down and just notice what you notice. Body, brain. Yeah. Okay. I'll teach this in the way my teacher, Melissa, teaches this. And she says that when there are anxious thoughts, overwhelm, maybe even something you might describe of as spiraling, that brain activation is happening primarily on one side of the brain. And when you do this thing that is bilateral, you're crossing the midline, both hemispheres must coordinate. And as both hemispheres activate and coordinate, that asymmetrical activity that is primarily on one side of the brain, i.e., anxious thinking pattern, cannot hold its shit together. It is the unraveling of a knot or the unswirling of an eddy, like the river when it flows together and makes a little whirlpool starts to unwind. It's not a perfect unwinding. It's not necessarily a complete unwinding. You get to hold on to that thought if you want to. The activation, however, of more both sides, more bilateral, closer to symmetry, and there's no preference for symmetry, by the way, but just using more of your available resources tends to have a calming effect on your available consciousness. So again, not a perfect solution, but if you're at a 10 and this can take you down to an 8.5, I say use it. Yeah, for those of you whose faces I can see on the screen, do you make different decisions when you're at a 10 of freak out versus when you're at an 8.5 of freak out? Yeah, totally. It is the difference for me from like leaving the Costco and actually deciding like I should get a snack. Yep. And being able to complete the shopping trip. Okay. So that is bilateral brain activation. And Melissa Tears says this in such a charming way. I'll give it to you as well. If I said pass a thing right to left, you might go, okay, Stephanie. But if I say bilateral brain activation, you'll go, aha, that shit sounds smart. I will do that. That is our yes, gems. Wonderful. So I give that to you. Enjoy. That's our first technique. If you walk away from this workshop with just one technique and it is that one, awesome. You can do it when you're on a Zoom call. You can do it in secret. You can do it in public transit. You can also do it and enjoy teaching it to others. The results, at least in my experience, the results will amplify the more you use it. Okay. I see in the chat marketing techniques and anti-anxiety. We love. Fantastic. Oh, awesome. I see your intentions in the chat. I'm going to scroll back up and read those in a moment. Practice number 2, soap and bones. For this, you don't need anything, but I have a little lotion here, and it's something that I want to give you as homework. This is a connection to energy and inspiration. This is the way that I engage with my ancestors. Okay, so let's just do this with your hands for now, without any lotion or soap or whatever. And choose one hand, doesn't matter which one. And this is partially from my experience as a body worker, with your very sensitive fingers, so not pushing too hard. Feel the difference between the skinny part of the middle of your bone and the chunkier part of the bone near your joint. And that's true of every one of your bones. Some of them are harder to feel, such as the ones that are inside your hand. Yep. Yeah. We've got carpals and metacarpals. We've got phalanges. Yeah. We have the interspace. And there's the knobby bit at the end of the long bone and the more smooth, skinny bit in the middle of the long bone. Yeah. If you want to push harder, please feel free. We're just feeling the shape of the bones for now. And the shape of the bones is important for reasons that will become clear in a moment. For those of you that know your relations, have you ever been told something like, oh, you got your grandma's eyes. Or maybe like, oh my gosh, that smile reminds me of your cousin. It might be the muscles, it might be the attitude, it might just be the bones. The bones of your hand are quite like the bones of an ancestor. It might be an ancestor that you know. It might be an ancestor that you will never know, except you know their bones. So I have been told that my hands are quite like my dad, which is hilarious because I have tiny, tiny hands. The scale is different. Yeah. Like what is this motion when you like do the 2-finger pinch? It's like that. Like my dad's hand is, but like you just pinch it. Yeah. down the scale. Right. And my dad has his dad's hands. And I don't know whose hands my Baba has. And I can't ask him anymore. So if you have lotion or white flower oil or whatever, or soap later, this is where the water ritual comes in. And again, water nourishes, feeds wood. As you lotion or wash your hands, you apply water, you apply moisture to your bones. And you can even imagine going down and in, letting the fluid flow over your bones as you are now in direct contact with the bones of your ancestors. Whether or not you know their names, whether or not you know their histories, locations, their struggles, their successes, you have their bones. And you bear their bones as your gift, as their gift. And as you move through the world, you might imagine, as I hilariously sometimes imagine, that these bones, these same or bones quite like these, shaped quite like these, were getting ready to meet their crush at, I don't know how long ago this was, so maybe like the third tree near the river. And they were gonna like, meet or whatever. And these bones were like getting ready, right? Like brushing the brambles out of their hair or whatever. And they thrived. And these bones were getting ready to present a story around the fire. And they might have been nervous. And they did it. And they thrived. So if you like, if it's all right for you to do right now, you don't have to. But you might push gently against the bones of your cheeks, or the bone of your jaw, and the bones of your eye sockets. This might feel a little weird, but all my bodywork clients have learned to love when I touch around their eye sockets. There's good stuff in here, a lot of tension, a lot of potential for nourishment. Yeah, eye sockets, yeah. These come from your ancestors too. The shape of your brow, of your cheeks, of your jaw. You are not alone. You have never been. You are always connected, and you always will be. Somebody with that jaw told somebody off that really needed to be told off. And then they smiled. And so can you. Okay, I'm moving on. Practice number 3. Are we good? Practice number 3. Oh, tender, sweet moment. And also truth. Okay, the 4 pillars of voice. I'm going to spend a bit more time here. Thank you for the Zoom reacts. I appreciate it. The 4 pillars of voice. I do not have a slide for this. I regret not making a slide for this. They are Volume, that is how loud or soft. Pitch, that is how high pitched or how low pitched. Rhythm, that is how regular, how evenly spaced, or how irregular, how unevenly spaced. And last pillar, tempo, that is how fast or slow. The 4 pillars of voice is a framework that I use to assess my own voice with purely physical characteristics. Why is that important? Because if I don't hold myself to a framework of purely physical characteristics, my conditioning, my judgment, the noise in my mind about you're so loud, or that's kind of annoying, or you're saying the wrong thing starts to leak into my awareness. And I don't always know where it comes from, and I don't always catch it in time to stop it from impacting how I like to sound. So the 4 pillars of voice again: volume, pitch, rhythm, and tempo. Rhythm and tempo are separate. I use music terms to be specific. The reason I use music terms is because it can be written on a score, and that's about as close to like um, physical confirmation as I can get, documentation as I can get. Rhythm is like, I'm going to sing Jingle Bells for a second. So, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way, right? That's the same rhythm as jingle bells, jingle all the way, right? But the first one had a slower tempo and the second one had a faster tempo. So those things go separately. Okay. So I'll do a little bit because you're all on mute right now. Tell yourself what you had for breakfast this morning. And if you didn't have breakfast this morning, say that. I had a cup of coffee and it's getting lukewarm on my desk right now. And I'm talking, so I'm not drinking it. And that is my coffee. Please go ahead with your own. I will shut up so you can focus on yourself. Okay. Now that you have told yourself a little bit, just think back. Remember 2 seconds ago, we were so young. Just 2 seconds ago when you were talking, was that louder or softer than your usual? Your usual what? Great question. Your usual talking to yourself or talking in this room. Softer. Okay. Yeah. So you were talking softer than what might be your baseline. What about pitch? Like, were you talking high pitched? Like, oh, that was so exciting. Or lower. Okay. Maybe you were talking lower. Lower, like, oh, my breakfast was a cup of coffee. That's quite lower than I usually speak. Okay. What about the rhythm? Rhythm, were your words more evenly spaced or more unevenly spaced? Yeah. More evenly spaced. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And what about your tempo? Were you speaking faster or slower? Slowish. We'll take slowish. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Some of this practice of the 4 pillars of voice is noticing what you notice. And the kind of flip side of the 4 pillars of voice is noticing what you don't notice. Perhaps during this time, during the 4 pillars of voice, you didn't notice that, oh, I should stop saying. Perhaps you didn't notice, oh, I never know what I'm talking about. I just never know what to say. Perhaps you didn't notice that, uh, I was always told that I was either too loud or too soft. And that too, yeah, compared to what, right? And when I am assessing my voice with these 4 pillars, I'm not comparing to anything but myself. And that groundedness in what I create and my baseline and what is normative for me feels really grounded and safe. I am not being invaded by shoulds. So I give you these 4 pillars: volume, pitch, rhythm, and tempo. And I give you why they matter. These physical characteristics of your voice, noticing them helps you neutralize your internalized bias. And when you can show up with neutralized bias, that's the foundation on which you might build voice love. And from that loving your voice, you promote a sense of certainty in what you sound like, and therefore what you will say, what you are saying. And that certainty builds safety. It also builds confidence. In the same way that a runner that knows they can make it to first base or whatever, sports ball, right? There's first base, that's the first one, right? If a runner knows they can make it to first base, they'll start running. Versus a runner that doesn't know that they can make it to first base won't even make it on the field. So when you know that your voice has this anchor because you have assessed via these physical characteristics what you sound like to you, you know that you can make it there. And so you'll show up, metaphorically, get on the field, and run. Okay. This is a practice all on its own. The 4 pillars of voice, you can use, please use this, as with all of these techniques, use this on yourself first. That is the safest way with any kind of first aid. Yeah, if you don't know how to like do a Band-Aid on yourself, like maybe don't try to do it on someone else first when it really meant when they're bleeding, right? Just maybe practice on yourself first, just as a important safety note. And the 4 pillars of voice can stay there. This next one, number 4, the audio selfie. The audio, I know. When I came up with that name, I was giggling my fucking face off. Have a secondary device if you like. If you're on your one device and that's all the device you have, you can still do the audio selfie. But I know you have a device because you're here. Haha, you proved it. Whether that's the one that you're on right now or you have a secondary device. If you have a secondary device, like I have my phone right over here, it's got my notes on it, so I keep looking down and to the right or to the left. You have a voice memo app. Okay, open your voice memo app. We're just going to do this for 1 minute. And using your voice memo app, you'll talk about, this is my favorite prompt, is a pen or a pencil better? And your challenge, some of you have done this with me before, your challenge is to be as opinionated as you dare be in this moment. For example, I love pens. I can't even think of the last time I purchased a pencil on purpose. One was given to me, immediately went in the junk drawer. I don't erase shit. I live my life in pen. Some might call me arrogant. I call myself decisive. Okay, like, is that hilarious? I don't know. But pencil people are listening to me like in horror. Like, the New York Times crossword, bitch, in pen? What? Yeah, I'm getting lols on the screen. Okay, so you pick, and for 1 minute, you just talk. Convince yourself. If you don't have a secondary recording device, no worries. Just talk for 1 minute. Ready, set. Oh yes, no prep time. Ready, set, go. Pen or pencil? About half a minute more. And finish up, please. All right. Just from the folks that I could see in the monitors on your screen, some of you got real heated. I love the passion, passion, energy, energy. That your next minute will be listening back to your recording. If you were not recording, your work is to spend a minute reflecting. Reflecting on what? Great question. You might notice what you were feeling or thinking as you were speaking. You might notice, wow, I got heated. You might remember the time everyone that I could see cracked yourself up at least once. Some was very like tee hee hee, and some were just like bah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah. You're charming. You're hilarious. I won't hear otherwise because you just proved it to yourself. You formed an argument. You were very convincing. You're using your resources, body, face, voice expression. You might notice if you're listening to the recording that you have moments where you cringe. That's totally normal. I challenge you to notice the times when you feel strong and decisive and confident, because those are there too. I promise. Okay, so just 1 minute, listen back. And if it's all cringe, if some people just really, just like looking at a photo of yourself, sometimes it's all cringe, just maybe turn the volume really low and let the recording wash over you. If you're reflecting, let the reflection wash over you. And just as a reminder that this is a physical reality, in the same way that when I run my fingers through my hair and a hair comes out, that hair is a physical reality. And I can judge it and I can say, oh my God, how gross. Or I can go, that happened. And that is a natural thing that happens. I make sound with my voice. Every now and then a hair falls out. You make sound with your voice. Every now and then you have a booger. You know what I mean? Like it can be as beautiful or as gross or as natural or as mundane as that. Okay? So just 1 minute, reflect or listen back. Ready, set, go. We're about done with that minute. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what you're thinking and feeling as you're listening or reflecting. But what I can say is that those thoughts, those sensations even, will change over time. In the same way that anything that you experience, that you reflect on, like journaling, the reason journaling works, the more you sit with your thoughts over time, the more you notice patterns, and you might notice what's important and what's not. I do not believe every thought that I think anymore, because some of my thoughts are wrong. And at the time, they feel really true. But after observing my thoughts over decades, and I'm 41, I've had some time, I know that some of my thoughts are lies. Some of my thoughts are helpful lies. They're protective lies. They're trying to keep me safe. Like, you could never do that thing. Yes, I could. I sure as hell could. I don't want to right now. I'd rather eat ice cream right now. So some of your thoughts you might decide are not helpful. Okay, the intention of this audio selfie is to give you a practice that dismantles internalized shame and interrupts the patriarchal and racist narratives that we've been taught that are silencing, erasing, and conforming. When you can listen to your voice and hear it and experience it as a fact of nature, as a feature of physical reality that happens to come out of your body, you can go, I said what I said, and have that be that. It is when you attach your voice, your sound, your contribution, your words to some conditioned narrative that you shouldn't have said that the internalized violence happens and is perpetuated. So it can seem really simple, and I'm using these big words like racism and patriarchy because they're real, but also because I want to be clear about the significance of this tiny practice. Record yourself, listen back. It is so small as to be quite easily dismissible over the course of all the important shit you have to do in a day. But like my meditation practice, 1 minute is so much more powerful than 0 minutes. And my actual recommendation for this audio selfie practice is 3 minutes of recording and 3 minutes of listening every single day. I think about it like brushing my teeth. You don't have to record. Sometimes I do this on dog walks and I don't record myself when I'm on a dog walk. I just talk to myself and I notice, I'm like, oh, my voice is really slow today. Or wow, I kept talking about that one thing. Or wow, I'm heated about this particular thing. I didn't realize that was so present in my consciousness. Good to know. How natural of me. How nature I am. Like that. Okay. I also give it to you because unlike meditation, it seems less built up in my mind. And maybe this is just because I've had meditation teachers and I've like paid to learn meditation. And this is just like, turn on your fucking voice recording and talk to yourself, whatever. What do you talk about? I don't care. It's the reflection and listening, and it is the accrual over time. Imagine imagine stringing flowers onto a lei. Yeah. Flower by flower, blossom by blossom, the garland grows. Okay. And if you miss a day, no big deal. All right. Okay. Lastly, these two most recent practices that I've talked about, the 4 pillars of voice and the audio selfie in combination, is a way to build or rebuild sustainable skills in voice and talking and presenting practice. So all of my clients go through the 4 pillars of voice. That is one of the very first things that we do to establish a baseline like voice profile. And it's not to, I want to answer a question in the chat here. It's not to necessarily change anything, but to establish what's here, right? Like a painter might say, these are the colors of paint that I have to work with. And it's not to say, oh, I'm only going to do green and gold, or, oh, I'm only going to use pastel tones. No. What paint do I have here? And from there, you decide what artwork you will create. And you might decide just like, no more purple. I hate purple. This is a metaphor. I'm never going to do that thing with my voice ever again. And I'm like, why would you want to live in a world without purple, babe? You might do that thing with your voice rarely, but don't reject it utterly. Okay. My holistic ass being like, let me love you. Okay. All right. How we doing? Just checking in. Great. So to review, practice number 1, bilateral brain activation. Pass the thing from the one side to the other side, from the one side to the other side. Number 2, soap and bones, which is a fancy way of just saying, look at you, standing at the living border of a legacy longer than you could possibly comprehend. Okay, that's soap and bones. Yes, very snaky. Number 3, the 4 pillars of voice: volume, pitch, rhythm, and tempo, physical framework to assess your voice and to learn to love what you hear. And number 4, the audio selfie, recording yourself for 3 minutes every single day, kind of like brushing your teeth. Yeah. And then reflecting back or listening back to the recording to either neutralize or even strengthen what you hear. Okay. Strengthen your perception of what you hear. Wonderful. Number 5. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is number 5. Number 5 is get coached. This is my secret sauce, has been my secret sauce for the past year and a half. Some of my coaches are here. Joy Ding is my coach. I love Joy Ding to the moon and stars and all the planets. She has been instrumental in supporting me through huge periods of growth and tenderness and the shedding of many skins. Vogue Robinson is also here. Vogue, with my creativity and with my poetry and with my ability to, I don't know, use a Google Calendar. There's also the reason why I have any semblance of an artist bio or a presenter bio is because of Vogue. So highly recommend Vogue Robinson. Also here is Ihilani. Ihilani is a Native Hawaiian body worker and theater practitioner, curator of stories. And I will be working with Ihilani over the summer with the Hawaii Shakespeare Festival's production of Hamlet, in which I will be playing Hamlet. So if you find yourself in Honolulu, yes, party, woo. I just hope all the words go in my brain and I say them at the right time. That's the primary challenge of actors, is not necessarily emoting. It is how much can you memorize, given enough time to do so. So Ihilani, highly recommend as both a bodywork practitioner and a theater artist, as one of my favorite directors. Okay, Christina Bailey is also here. Christina Bailey and I are delightful collaborators. Christina Bailey offers artist workshops to cultivate your creative spirit in the way of tending an artist garden. Okay, I have other beloveds that I have already mentioned. Melissa Tears is my hypnosis teacher, and I highly recommend her work. Sam Garcia is my marketing teacher, and I highly recommend her work. Simone Soul is my heart-centered business and kind of business as metaphysics teacher, and I highly recommend her work as well. Okay, so best practices with getting coached is to be as absolutely radically honest as you possibly can. If you choose to engage with a coach, be absolutely as like there is a quality of honesty that feels like ripping your heart open, and I'm not suggesting you have to do that. I'm saying that if you feel like you don't want to rip your heart open, say that. That's what I mean by radically honest. Like, I don't want to work on that today, and here's what's feeling really tender, and that's all I want to say about it. Yeah, like, your restraint is different from your repression. Okay, and that is one of the things that has kept my work with my coaches very, very focused, in addition to being very, very vulnerable and, yes, functionally, metaphorically ripping my heart open. So those things in combination are very, very important. And I know that I have some therapists, family and couples and individual therapists in the room as well. So yeah, we have client-centered praxis, and first and foremost is consent and safety. With that, I am also a coach. I am a public speaking coach. And what that means is that anytime you're talking to more than one person at a time, you are public speaking, okay? If you're teaching a workshop, you are public speaking. If you're talking to Instagram on a video, you are public speaking. I don't want to hear this like, oh, Stephanie, I'll hire you when I'm ready to be on a stage. Queen, like, if you don't practice now, how do you think you're about to feel when you're in the wings and they're miking you up and taping a fucking battery pack to your belt and you're like, okay, Stephanie, now I want coaching now. No, I'm not going to say it's too late, but I would like to work with you sooner if possible, is what I will say. Okay. So my specialty is in working with entrepreneurs because that is what I am. I have tremendous lived experience in that direction. And specifically with entrepreneurs that are in mission driven businesses. I'm not working with the people that are in entrepreneurships to have a drop ship business to sell t-shirts for their personal brand so that they get rich and live on an island. Okay. No, I'm actually working with entrepreneurs that have maybe a little trouble making money because we're not here to get rich individually. We're here to build the wealth of the collective, and that means getting free. Rich doesn't mean money to me. Rich means liberation. So if that sounds good to you, hire a bitch. I got rent to pay. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to go back up and see if we have made good on your intentions for today's time together. Okay. It's not too late to put your intentions in the chat, but I'm going to start reading from the top down. Okay. Some inner peace and renewed focus. I hope we got there. Yeah. Oh, nods. Wonderful. Skills or tools for comfortably speaking in online spaces. I don't know if we got there specifically, but hopefully skills and tools for getting comfortable in yourself and speaking with yourself, which you can then bring to online spaces. Okay. We have some just curious, all sounds good. Never done any sort of coaching and generally speaking in public or idea of teaching is terrifying. Yeah, so that's wonderful that you're here. The foundational skill of public speaking is being able to regulate within yourself. And that's like my entire coaching praxis in a nutshell. How to do that takes some working through, but just as a foundational statement, your ability to connect to your own heart and your own purpose is what will stop the shaking if you want, or allow you to speak through the shaking. That will allow you to cry or stop crying, whatever your preference is. Because again, that connection is the most vibrant thing as opposed to like what you might be feeling small, scared, whatever in the moment, right? And the ability to reconnect when the connection has been troubled for whatever reason. Someone sneezes and you're like, oh God, okay. Right. Grounded and internal clarity. Yeah, I think we got some tools to get there. Find ways to connect to my confidence when I speak and learn the skills to help me with it. Yes, same as I was saying with the maybe being scared about speaking in public. Empowerment. Yeah, great. I have been, this is maybe semantics, but I'll share it with you anyway. I have been, instead of using the word empowerment, because I cannot empower you, right? To empower you, for me to empower you suggests that I have some sort of power that I can imbue you with, and I'm not that kind of magic, right? Nor am I that kind of politician that would pretend to have that sort of power. That's weird. I equip you. You are being equipped. Tools, and then you are equipped, like those Final Fantasy VII that I played when I was in high school, right? Those video games where you have like, I'm equipped with like a sack of jewels and a hammer, like those kinds of things. So you're equipped, you have those things, and you can use them as you like, because not only do you have divine assignment, you also have free will. You can just like, Stephanie, stuff it, I want to hear from you. Okay. Yeah, marketing techniques and anti-anxiety. I think we got that too. Yeah, amazing. Okay, I think I've gotten through the intentions at the top. Wonderful. Okay. Is there a directory for coaches? Is a question. No, there isn't at this time, but you can find me on my Instagram and I'll be posting this stuff at Pony Ponytail. So Instagram.com/Pony Ponytail. You can also, if you're following me already, just stay tuned to my stories. In our last minute here, just want to take another breath together, if you would, and reconnect to your reason for being here. And that might have changed. Yeah. We honor the shifts because you are a living, vibrant being. Yeah, what brought you here? And now a small shift. What will you take from here? What are you taking from here? The 5 things, again, are bilateral brain activation, the SOAP and bones ritual, the 4 pillars of voice, the audio selfie, and my entreaty to you to get coached is number 5. What are you taking from here? All right. I'll take us just 1 minute over time. Thank you so much for your generosity and spaciousness. My reason for being here, I said a bit at the beginning, and I'll say the bit that's more appropriate to say here at the end now. My intention for today's workshop is for you to use these skills, and where it is appropriate for you to do so, share them or even teach them. Nothing I've shared with you today cannot be shared by you with the amount of knowledge that you have right now. Practice it on yourself first. That's the deal. We made that deal. Practice it on yourself first. But every single one of these things is absolutely safe for you to take and teach. I am one person, and I'm not trying to gatekeep this shit. You know people who I will never meet. And it is to those people that you can reach, that I might even say it is your job to try and reach, or to at least offer. Yeah. Even if it's just like one post that's just like, hey, I've got some things that maybe could help in this time. Because that's how the collective gets stronger. That's how we all get free together. Yeah. Connect inside, connect beyond yourself. And you never know, like maybe not too long from now, somebody will be like, hey, Stephanie, you seem a little stressed. Do you have like something about this size you could pass back and forth? I want to teach you a little something. If that happens to me in the next month or two, I'm gonna shed a tear. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I'll just let them teach me. So I'll just be like, thank you so much. Oh my God. This is great. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again so much. This means so much to me that we got to spend this time together. I appreciate you all.